Okay. Hello, good afternoon. Nice that there's still such a crowd. And can we switch to my presentation? I hope every one of you seen this blog. If not, check it out. You just Google for ABAP Cloud, and it's the second link. Because Harald then can reach the 29,000 reads of the blog. So I will talk about the SAP ABAP Cloud Platform ABAP environment. So, whom of you had worked with the SAP Cloud Platform yet? Okay, half of it. So I hope you know there is a free trial that you can use to learn the SAP Cloud Platform. And I really would engage everyone, get a trial account, use it, learn, because we see even ABAP is now moving into the cloud platform. I want to start with a little bit an overview how ABAP in the cloud platform is embedded. So we have the SAP Cloud Platform provides the platform where this infrastructure, the ABAP platform, the ABAP server, is started up. It still relies, as always, as also on-premise, on a database. In the cloud platform, the database is always HANA. So you need a HANA instance that is provided also by the HANA service. And this instance in the moment is always 64 gigs big. The ABAP platform is run in a 16 gigabyte environment. And so the main use case, you see it here in the text, is a side-by-side extension scenario. So who have been with SAP TechEd, and there was the keynote from Björn Görke, and he said it again and again, keeps the core clean. Please repeat. Keeps the core clean. But why keeps the core clean? Because only then you can benefit from the innovations from SAP, because you know your clients. They modified the system to death, and they're always afraid to do an upgrade. But if you keep the core clean, you can do upgrades when you use released APIs, released interfaces for your extensions. And because you can do that now in ABAP, you can take your knowledge from today, adopt it. You have to know ABAP objects. That is one real prerequisite to get into the ABAP in the cloud, because it's only ABAP OO. And you can also use your knowledge about CDS views. So if you already worked with CDS views in ABAP 750, 751, then you can reuse this knowledge also in the ABAP in the cloud. So how to get there? There are two ways. One for the administrator or to create users. There is a cloud cockpit, and that is your way into the platform and to manage it. The second entry here, the ABAP development tools for Eclipse, also known as ABAP in Eclipse. That is the developer environment you have to use. There is no other way. There is no SAP GUI. There is not even a SAP GUI for HTML, which you can use to access your system. So it's only Fiori apps to access and manage, and there is ABAP in Eclipse to develop there. And you see here also an indicator to Git. So the way how to get codes that you developed in your on-premise system into the ABAP in the cloud system is via Git. And here the open source project from Lars Fram comes in, ABAP Git, and SAP worked together with Lars to make use of this project to get code from your on-prem system into the ABAP in the cloud. And on the right-hand side, we have connectivity. In the moment, connectivity is limited to HTTP calls, but in the next releases, and there is a 3-monthly release cycle. So the first release was 1809. The next release will be 9, 10, 11. So we have the 1811 is already scheduled for next month, for November, and then improvements will come, and perhaps there will already be the RFC connectivity. So you can also call RFC RFCs in the backend. Okay, let's have a look after this overview in the concrete system. There are some names and structural things you should always remember in the cloud platform. There is so-called regions, and the region is represented here. I'm in the region Europe Rot, and here I am in a global account, ABAP environment rollout. So the SAP mentors had the opportunity to give feedback even just really after the first release. And we contributed also to this blog. There is an FAQ in it, so we gave the feedback of the community to make it even better understandable. And you see there is a so-called sub-account called the mentors. And here you see that is a different region even. The provider is Amazon Web Services in this case, and it's Europe Frankfurt. That is in the moment the only location where the ABAP in the cloud can be run. As we are in a Cloud Foundry environment, there is one level more that is called the so-called spaces. So spaces you can use, for example, if you have a development, quality assurance, and production system to have different spaces for each of them. So that is a possibility to distinguish between the systems in your landscape. Good, let's go one level further. In Cloud Foundry, when you develop cloud applications like Java or Node.js or whatever language there is a so-called build pack for, you will deploy them here in this area. But as the ABAP system is a complete environment also with its own development capabilities, it's a so-called service, and you will actually start up an ABAP system using the service marketplace. So you look in the service marketplace, find the ABAP system, and then you could start a new instance of that. That is already done in this account. So I just go back and check the other option, which is the running service instances. And from here, I see that there is a system, ME1, with the service ABAP, and the plan 16 ABAP 64 DB. So that means 16 gigabyte for the ABAP part, 64 gig for the HANA database. And from here, your administrator can open the dashboard of this ABAP system. What you will see is it's a Fiori Launchpad with some tiles on it, and perhaps some of you have had a look on the S/4HANA Cloud version, and you will see very familiar things. For example, for the connections to other systems, you see there are communication systems, communication agreements, and that is taken from S/4HANA Cloud. It uses the same terminology. So I will not go too much into detail here, because I want to show you some actual ABAP running in this environment. So we already learned that we have to use Eclipse. Whom of you had or do it in the positive way, who is using Eclipse? Okay, good. So who is not using yet Eclipse, please try to get on it. There is one website which will provide you all the downloads and links you need for the installation. So there is tools.hana.ondemand.com. On this website you see here, there is a tab for ABAP. And it will instruct you how to get ABAP development tools for Eclipse running. So you download the Eclipse IDE for Java, and then you go and do this install new software, and you point it to a specific location. At this location, it's automatically looking for the ABAP stuff, you install that, and you're ready to go. And with that, you're ready to go to create a new project here. And this project is of a specific type. You see here, there is an entry ABAP, and there is an ABAP cloud project. So that is the difference. You can also use ABAP in Eclipse for on-premise development. Then it will use connections from your SAP Launchpad, logon pad. And here we go with ABAP SAP Cloud Platform, Cloud Foundry environment. And you select a so-called region. There is, in the moment, only one. Here we see the link again, Europe, Frankfurt. That is the AWS region. Then you have an API endpoint, and you have to provide email address and password. That is your SAP Cloud Platform username and password. So your S user or P user, but you have to enter, not the S user or P user, use the email address. It's only valid via the email address. As I did this setup already before, I will just show you the logon. We see the ME1 system. That was the Mentor 1 system, is there. And when I double click on it, it brings up the authentication. I can now either put in my username and password here, or I've stored all my credentials in the browser, and I do the logon via this. I have just to close it, get back to Eclipse, and here is now my connection open, and I see my favorite packages here. Yeah? What you also see in contrast to a normal on-premise ABAP system is that you have here released objects. And this is the so-called white list. SAP made a list of tools, classes, function modules, and so on, which are whitelisted, which are available for you to use in your programming in the cloud environment. And this list is a whitelist, says you're only allowed to use what is in, everything else is not allowed. And for the first start, I want to show you a little class that I created. That was actually my first program I created in this environment. And this is a class which implements the IF HTTP service extension. So some of you might have created an ICF handler. So that is something very similar. And what you do here, you just implement the handler request method. And in this handler request method, you give back a status code and some text which should be shown. So let's change that to SIT Barcelona. So SITBCN, so it's actually just a normal activation process you still do, but then you have to check for the connectivity, because there is another object created. Normally you would go now via transaction SICF to start this handler, but that is now encapsulated in this HTTP service. And in this HTTP service, I see here a URL. I will just copy and paste this URL to the browser, and I think there will one thing happen is, actually it's nice. So we have now the result of my ABAP code accessible via just an HTTP connection. So that is the most simple way, but it could be very powerful, as we just seen in the Google Assistant session. This could be an endpoint for some voice recognition service. So you can program here very freely what you need for some integration to such services. Good, so that is the one programming model part. Let me show you now the step you need if you want to have legacy code that you already push to a Git repository into your ABAP system. So for that, I've prepared a Git repository, and this Git repository, first of all, let's switch to the main repository. So to install via ABAP Git, there is another software that needs to be installed inside Eclipse. So SAP does not yet ship anything directly with ABAP in Eclipse. You have to follow these instructions here for the ABAP Git ADT frontend. So luckily, Lars is already at home, and he accepted my pull request, and now we have the nice instructions also in here, which makes it easy to install it. I did that already, and when you do that, you get this new tab here, which shows you which projects are already linked from Git, and it doesn't have to be GitHub. It's any Git compatible repository which you can reach via HTTP from your desktop, because your desktop makes the connection. And now let's add a new Git repository, which is this one. Very simple one. Just, I think there is a class in there, and let's copy and paste it here, and next. And we have to choose a package. I think I've prepared this package already. Let's browse it with that Gregor. And let's take the Git test package. Okay, here we go. Next, choose your transport request. I think it's already, I chose it already for this package. And now it fetches the objects from Git and tries to install it in the ABAP in the cloud system. And when we refresh here now the Git test package and scroll down, we finally find here some new ABAP code that was imported from our Git repository. Yeah. So that is actually not doing any too much. We will not see any output. I have not even yet written a test class for it, but you see it's very basic. Yeah. And I tried much more complex projects to import. That is not yet possible because, for example, ABAP to XLSX uses table types which are not yet supported. I hope they come with 18.11. Good. And to finish, I want to show you what is the direction of developing in the system, which is CDS views. Whom of you have seen a CDS view or created one? Okay, so that's perhaps the same which used also ABAP in Eclipse. And that is a really dirty one because I mixed the UI annotations. So how should that be shown to the user with the actual data? So don't do that at home. Make it better. There is an extra artifact for the UI annotations. But the nice thing is when you now define such a service and have a look into the, the business services, service definitions, that is not the right thing. I have to go to the service binding. So there are really step-by-step tutorials. Hope some of you tried it also in the developer garage. And at the end, what you will get is you right-click on this service information connections, and then you can say Open Preview in Fiori Elements app. And that is, I think, the biggest improvement they did for ABAP in Eclipse, because before you always had to go to Web IDE, create all destinations, create a project to see something which looks like a Fiori app. Now they have a generic Fiori app, which should take these annotations, so saying these are the columns I want to search for also, these are the columns which I want to display in this order, and let's see if we can go. I don't think that there is Barcelona in the list, or BCN. No, unfortunately not. So let's try Frankfurt. Yeah, we have some flights from Frankfurt, and you see you have the full search filter capabilities and also a detail view which you can show. And that is powered by this CDS view which is exposed then to the outside. Yeah. I think with that, I want to finish, so we have a little bit of shorter break and then continue with the next speaker. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yeah, so, can we have a microphone also for the stream? Because it's easier than also the rest can listen to it.
On one side, I would like to know what is the cloud-optimized ABAP?
The cloud-optimized ABAP means in the moment this whitelisted objects. So it's very limited of, you don't have, for example, workflow service, which you have in the classical NetWeaver.
It's more oriented on classes, it's not a syntactical difference.
Syntactically, it's not so much a difference.
Okay.
What perhaps to extend on this question is, there are SAP nodes which you can install in a 752 system. For example, in the new ABAP developer trial, I did that myself, downloaded the nodes, installed them, and then you can check your existing ABAP code in the system or also via remote check. So you can do a remote ATC or the SCI, the code inspector, via RFC connection, and you can check your actual existing code, is that cloud ready.
Okay. And the second point would be the availability of Git for moving software changes from one system to another.
Yeah.
What kind of impact can that have on the standard transport mechanism we know so long?
Good question. The target to use Git here is mainly for developer collaboration. It's not intended, at least from what Lars and I also think, to use it for the software propagation in the system. We have a rock-solid transport management system, and I think that should not go away. Perhaps you were in, there is one contact at SAP, Ulrich Auer. Check also the TechEd sessions from him. He's with the CTS team, and they have also nice ideas how to combine CTS also with Git. But so the ABAP Git, just perhaps let's also have a look. Who doesn't know, abapgit.org. That is the main page for the ABAP Git project. So check this out if you want to use a Git repository to control your ABAP development workflow. So ABAP Git makes it possible that developers develop on their individual local system and use Git to then bring the code together. And you could then think of some other ABAP system, like a consolidation system, pulling the code from there. But at the end, you go from this system then with normal transport into production. So that could be a landscape of the future, DevOps. Any other questions? If not, I thank you again.